So Cassandra, like if you were Bob's lawyer right now, and let's just say he
Uh,
just got the letter, like, would you have told him to take the memes down?
no. Wait, no. I mean, it depends.
See,
Okay,
that's
let's say, and my reaction is no because it's TQL and I think it's just hilarious. But first, I would want to know. You already said it, Bob. Like, is
yeah.
whatever he said founded in fact?
Hey there, amazing listeners. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on our podcast, we need your support. It will only take a moment, but it would mean the world to us. Please make sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share with one of your friends that would enjoy our content. Your engagement helps us reach more people and bring more awesome episodes to you. Thanks a million, and thanks for being part of the podcast community.
The trucking industry is crazy right now, and being a broker can be stressful. Managing your invoices, billing, collecting, carrier base, and cash flow can feel like an impossible task. But I can tell you, OTR Solutions has figured out the impossible. They eliminate cash flow problems for carrier payments and ensure margin funding in just 24 hours with broker invoice factoring. OTR Solutions takes care of billing and collection processes with your shippers. And with lightning quick and accurate invoicing, your customers will never need another broker to handle their freight needs. Kick back, relax, and let OTR take care of your brokerage. If you want to know more, and I hope you do, check them out at otrsolutions.com/freight-caviar to see what they can do for your business. Or give them a call. They love to talk to brokers at 770-882-0124. We've partnered with Ascend TMS, the world's most popular and top-rated transportation management system. It's the ultimate tool for all your freight needs. You can use our referral code RA-FreightCaviar! To receive 3 months of Ascend TMS for free. It only takes 20 seconds to sign up, and no credit card is required. You can click the link below to learn more. Cassandra Gaines, we're excited to have you with us on the Freight Caviar podcast. You're the CEO of Carrier Sure. You've had an interesting journey in the logistics world. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, of course. Okay, I'm Cassandra Gaines, and I'm very excited to be on this podcast. You guys have you both have such a great following, and I told a few people I was going to be in this podcast, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is so exciting!" So I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I should have done this earlier." So thank you very, very much for having me on. It's not always exciting to have like a lawyer on because a lot of people didn't know, but I started off my career as a lawyer. And I started
Oh,
off in this law firm in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I didn't know what I was doing. And, I was doing like circles in different areas of law and trying out different areas of law. And then this one partner, his name is Jeff Simmons. He's currently CLO of Global Trans. Amazing guy. And he took me under his wing and taught me transportation law. And he was like the smartest partner there, the nicest one there, and he would just give you great assignments. So I was always working for him. I didn't give a shit about transportation law. I was like, I don't even know what that means. But I just kept working under him. And then years passed, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm a transportation lawyer. And I would go to these transportation conferences, and they'd be like all these old white guys shuffling around at the conference. And I'm like, oh, this is untapped territory. So I became a transportation lawyer, and then I went and worked in-house at a whole bunch of big companies, and I learned how to grow and develop their use of carriers, help them avoid theft, help them avoid double brokering, and that was a big part of my job. So when I finished up my tenure at Schneider, I think it was, I started my own firm, and then I used the revenue to create a prototype for Carrier Sure. And then I went out and got a beta company, a couple big beta companies to try it out. And they're like, this works. And so then I went and got investors, and it just snowballed, you guys. Like, I cannot believe it's been 1 year since we went live. And it blows my mind that I've gotten this far and have been this successful because I'm just a freaking lawyer.
Well, what's
yeah.
interesting is because Cassandra, you finished Cornell, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so you're maybe one of the few people that have graduated from Cornell and are in the transportation industry. It's not something
I
that's
don't think there's any
you
more
come
of
around.
us.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty cool. So you went to Cornell to become a lawyer. Right? That was the goal.
I went to Cornell. I had no idea. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I got into this school. And then I was like, and then I got into Cornell and I started like attending classes. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never going to graduate. Like, this is horrible. And it was like survival for 4 years. Like, my husband went to University of Arizona in Tucson.
Okay.
He has so many good memories of college. He partied. He made like tons of friends. I have no good memories of college. None.
Oh, wow.
Like, I graduated, I went to New York City and I worked and I went bananas partying because I was like, I never got to have my college partying. So now I'm gonna party in New York City.
So you went to New York City after Cornell, and then
Yep.
how did you get exactly into logistics industry? Like, what was because you didn't mention the guy from Global Trans, but can you walk
Yeah.
us through that?
Yeah, of course. Because it's weird. Like, I think all of us have weird stories of how we got into transportation and then we never
Yeah.
get out. So
Yeah.
in New York City, I worked in sales for these really big companies. And I did that for, I think, about 5 years. And then I went to law school because I realized I didn't have any more growth opportunity. Sales was starting to bore the shit out of me anyhow. And I went to law school. And I went to law school thinking I was going to like be this, I can't remember what it was. It was like I wanted to be an FDA regulatory lawyer, which everybody goes into law school and college thinking, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be amazing at it. And then life just takes you a whole nother direction. You're like, oh, I am so glad I didn't do that. So transportation law is way more fun. But again, law school, you just go in and you are just so excited you got in, but then you're just trying to survive the whole time.
Yeah.
And you come out and then you're like, I need a job fast because I have bad student loans.
So
how did you guys get into transportation? Like let's take Bob, for example. Bob, by the way, you have like this very formal letter looking thing behind you.
Oh, speaking of that,
Look at this.
lawyer, this
Tell
is a
me.
cease and desist letter from TQL.
No. What were you doing?
So I
Please
put it
tell
on my
me.
wall just to I don't know, motivate me every single day. But yeah.
Are you gonna tell us why? Or
Well, I
is
posted
that
memes about them and I posted memes about their CEO. So they got butthurt
good.
and sent me a cease and desist letter to stop posting memes about them. And I'm like, it's kind of freedom of speech and it's kind of truth,
Wait.
like I'm not posting
So
something
right
that's
now,
not
Bob, you have
ordinary.
the perfect outlet to ask Cassandra about it. Like, Cassandra, so he got this letter from TQL, and he actually wasn't sure. You actually reached out to a lawyer, didn't you? When you received the letter?
Yeah, I paid like $2,000 for a lawyer.
No way. Okay, so Cassandra, like, if you were Bob's lawyer right now, and let's just say he just got the letter, like, would you have told him to take the memes down?
No. Wait, no. I mean, it depends. Okay, let's say, and my reaction is no because it's TQL and I think it's just hilarious. But first, I would want to know. You already said it, Bob. Like, is whatever he said founded in fact? If it's founded in fact, and Bob's like, no, I have the facts right here. Boom, 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 boom.
Right. So it's like it's facts and satire too. Where it's like you have to, memes are like a gray area. I've probably like went a little too far in some stuff, but yeah, most of it was actually like facts from my followers that would actually send me and I would just repost it, so it's like kind of like in a review. I don't get it why they sent me this.
One of them went really far though,
so
one of the memes went really far.
Yeah, one of them went a little too far, but basically it's legit. They tied up like my USA Transportation with my personal name and with like my
letter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is amazing. This is amazing. It is good news. You probably already know this, but like you have such a big following and such an impact that you pissed off the CEO of a $4 billion company or whatever.
So right here, do you see? These are the memes. They attached the memes to them. That's actually the CEO right there. But yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know. So TQL still calls me all the time with their loads. So TQL literally calls us. Even like yesterday, I think they called me and I'm like, they're like, hey, do you still have your truck? I'm like, yes, I do. They're like, we have this load. I'm like, okay, did you check our MC? They're like, yeah, you're on do not use. I'm like, yeah, your CEO told me to do not use. For memes, that's literally what I tell them. But
that CEO literally was, got his coffee in the morning or 2 a.m. He couldn't sleep. He's going on Instagram and then he sees that shit and his head's like, pfft. And he's like, gets his lawyers to go write up this big thing. That's how pissed off he was.
I think I don't know if it was him
like,
exactly, but I think it
details,
was
but
internal. The office people were sharing the memes, you know, because these memes go super viral, and the office people were sharing it, and it was probably like, you know, affecting the whole
yeah.
work area
Yeah.
or
But it's
whatever. So
cooler to think the CEO was like on Instagram
yeah,
and saw that shit and his head blew, and
yeah, yeah.
like
So-
$8
that's
billion
cool.
guy.
It's cool.
So
yeah, no,
I
it's pretty cool.
I also got in trouble with Landstar, but this was like 2.5 years ago. It's not as as funny and as interesting as Bob's story, but I actually had my Instagram account deleted by Instagram, and it said the reasoning was because Landstar had reached out to them. And in my bio was, my name is Boris. I'm the #1 double broker for Landstar in Ukraine. That was my bio. And then every meme essentially back then was making just fun of Landstar and me being a double broker. And they told me that I need to talk to Landstar lawyers in order to get reinstated by Instagram. And so I actually talked to the lawyer Jeffrey from New York. I talked to him, and I promised him, I was like, I won't make fun of Landstar anymore. Can you please? And I'll delete all the photos. Can you please like get back? Can you please communicate this with Instagram? And he wrote back to Instagram, and they got my account reinstated. I had like 3,000 followers back then. So, but yeah, I once woke up to my account being removed and an email from Instagram saying Landstar reported my account, and lawyers were involved.
Badass. They're like the mafia.
Yeah.
Like,
But
wow.
yeah, so
But social media is no joke, you know. It definitely,
it's no
guess,
joke.
yeah,
But
like
just
you can have a big
wondering.
effect. Like
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering, like, could have TQL done anything legally speaking, Cassandra, to Bob for those memes?
Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, I'm not your lawyer and I don't know all the details, but from a high level perspective, I don't even understand what the damages would be. Unless they could prove that shippers saw it and they stopped shipping with them. They would have to really demonstrate what are the damages here. And then also they'd have to prove that it's founded in fact, that it wasn't founded in fact. And he has testimony. He said that people sent him testimonial facts so it's unless they got something that I don't know about, it seems like a stretch, but then again, I'm not somebody who specializes in this area.
Yeah, so it goes on or about October 15, 2022, TQL learned that USA Transportation had been and currently is engaged in spreading destructive or defamatory rumors about TQL and invading the privacy of TQL officers and employees, as shown at appendix, whatever you call it, A. In fact, you knew when you posted these things under a false and misleading name that they were false, given that the numerous publicity available article outlining the fact that TQL is a highly respected business. That's a lie. Nobody respects TQL.
And that's just the opinion of whoever wrote that article. Like, that's an opinion. It's not a fact.
Exactly. But, well, so it's not that they could have done something to me. They could have just dragged me through court, and it would have been like a huge,
that's what every
drag
lawyer
out.
says in this situation, is that they're a big company. And it comes like that with non-competes, right? You're a big they're a big company. You like don't have $10,000 a month to spend on a lawyer. And so it's $5,000 to $10,000 a month, depending on what the dispute is. That's what I always tell people. So you have to be ready for that, depending on how in-depth the situation is.
Do you know what I thought though would be pretty funny? Imagine if I go to court, and they're all serious, everybody's dressed up, and they put my names on the big boards, and I'm like, that's pretty funny. And I go live on my Instagram. That'd be pretty funny.
That would be actually
and then not only that, you could GoFundMe to fight TQL.
Exactly.
And you probably would get a whole bunch of money too.
Well, Bob actually did a GoFundMe a couple of weeks ago, and you raised like $6,000, didn't you?
It was like 4,200 or 4,400. Yeah, my friend's truck got towed, like a crazy towing scam company. They charged $6,000 for 16 miles, so it was just another insane story. But
yeah, towing companies are no joke. We've all had hostage load situations with towing truck companies, and you are at their mercy. And everyone tries the same thing. They're like, "Fuck these towing trucking companies. I'm gonna get a lawyer. I'm gonna call cops." And blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, they have your equipment, and they don't give a shit. And they're usually in the middle of nowhere. And they just wait it out.
They are ruthless.
I've crazy charges.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've had literally people message me where they lost their whole business because of towing companies. Like they
Yeah,
just do crazy charges. Even insurance will be like, okay, we'll pay this amount,
up
and
to
then
like
it's been like
$5,000, up to
months.
$15,000.
Yeah, and then they'll just be more and more. They'll need more money, so you just leave the truck, you leave the trailer, and you just call it quits. It's insane. It's literally insane.
It is insane.
I'm surprised that the government is not stepping in and doing something though. You know that
Really?
like
Does that surprise you, Bob? Really?
well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like
When do they
there
step
should
in
be
and
some
do anything?
there
And
should be some laws.
most of our trucking industry is like, no more government, no more government. So then they're like, well, fuck off when we have a problem.
True that,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. But
But then maybe the government gets involved in the things that they should not be getting involved in, the transportation. You know, maybe they should be carrying. I don't know. Who am I? I'm just a small fish in a big pond. You know. But
Sounds
then
like you're
my
a pretty big
followers,
fish in this pond.
but then my followers, you know, they could be like, you could kind of, you know, if everybody sticks together, then you can make a change. So that's what I was kind of like thinking eventually,
Yes.
like with towing companies, you could pass certain laws and have people sign these petitions to actually get it passed through, you know, pass through certain like laws or whatever. But yeah,
I
one
like your
battle though.
approach of, you know, of reaching, like you guys have these huge influence, right? And reaching out to them and teaching them how to even deal with the situations is probably more impactful because some of those states do have laws against those towing companies and their activities. And
yeah,
those towing companies don't give a shit. They're in the middle of Virginia and they got your equipment and they're like, great, go call the cops. See how it is. One time, you guys, I had a hostage load situation with a towing company. It was in Nebraska and it was bad, you guys. They were holding on to like really expensive equipment and also cargo. And so I called, you know, I came in like a fucking hammer and I
yeah,
called the towing company and then I called the cops and it was like they stole our stuff. The cop was like 2 miles down the road from this towing company. So I thought it was a great idea. And he's like, oh, that's my cousin. I'm like, oh, haha, it's probably funny. And he's like, no, that's really my cousin. And he's like, I know what's
yeah,
going on. I'm like, oh my God, is your damn cousin? It was insane. We actually had to sue them. But I think
yeah,
that you guys could probably teach people and have a better reach because even when laws are in place, like it's against the federal regulations to double broker without authority. It's against the law. Who's going to enforce it?
yeah.
Right.
So the cop, see that's interesting that you said that because so in those smaller towns or like in the middle of nowhere, that's exactly what's happening. All these towing companies, they're so tied to like the cops and you know the people involved there that like you said, they don't really care and they know exactly they're paying. I don't want to sound, but I feel like they're paying each other, you know, they're paying each other off or they're doing
No,
something.
they
But
are,
here in
but that's
Charlotte,
how
it's a
they
little
make
bit
their
different.
business.
Yeah, but here in Charlotte, it's a little bit different because it's such a big city, and I don't think the cops are on their side. So I actually called the cops when this happened, and I talked to him, and he literally told me like they just have these gray areas where they operate in, and they can't do anything because it's not it's only like a civil matter. So I have to go
That's
through
what
them.
they always
But
say.
literally,
The
the
civil matter.
officer himself told me he's like because I told him it's $6,000. He's like, it would literally be cheaper for you to just get in the truck and kind of drive out of that. And even if they press charges, you'll probably pay less than $6,000 for that. But we didn't really, you know, you never know if they have a gun or something. Like you're going on their property,
Yeah, you
so
have
it's
to
not
be.
really worth.
Yeah, you have to be a little
Yeah,
careful with that.
not
But
even worth
I've
the
hired
risk.
PIs to go try to recover the equipment, and they have.
Yeah,
And I had, but you're right. We talked about whether if they were going to walk into a dangerous situation to not do that. But if it's a situation they
yeah,
felt like they could recover the equipment, go do it. The other thing is I always tell people is that you if you realize you have any incident with a towing truck, so you're a broker or a shipper, and you realize any instance that there be a towing situation involved, towing company involved, anything, you have to be smart and move very fast to transload the product and take control of the situation quickly if you can
yeah,
before the towing company gets a hold of anything. And then as soon as they do get a hold of anything, pay them if it's important customer, if it's important cargo, pay them fast before they start making up charges and fighting with the truck driver, and get it the fuck out of there. And you can sue the truck driver or you can just push it through your rates or do something. But you have to move fast to resolve because once they have it and they start doing their fees and they start getting their pride involved, it's so hard to get out and it costs way
yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's insane.
So
But I
It
mean,
is insane.
this guy that kind of did it to my friend, at least he's off of like social, like he's gone off of Google. I mean, his reviews got destroyed. He got blown up by phone calls. It was not good for him, that's for sure, you know, but I think some of them deserve it because I feel like it doesn't make no logical sense to charge this amount of money for it's basically, you know, it's basically extortion at this point. You know, you're not and he was trying to say like him or his wife were trying to say like oh, you guys charge the brokers whatever you want, yeah, but then they could like choose to pay that or not to pay that. They could hold their freight or not move the freight, or in this case, you're stuck. You got my truck, you impounded the truck.
Yeah,
I can't
you're
move with
stuck.
the truck at all, so without the truck. So yeah, it's
Yep,
insane.
it's very true. It is insane. It's a tough situation.
So Cassandra, I'm curious because we got into this kind of rabbit hole on just on towing, and you mentioned that you've had these stories that you were involved with private investigators, you were calling police officers. Can you kind of take us back to where you began in the transportation industry, and kind of like tell us about like those stories and how you were able to grow out of that and build a career through having your own podcast and then having your own application?
Yeah, of course. So when I was at the law firm, that's where I learned, obviously all the basics of transportation, and I litigated a lot and I liked it a lot. One of the reasons I liked it is that transportation law is federal based. So you can practice it really anywhere. And it's very old, antiquated law. It is hard to understand and hard to research and understand. And Bob, you know this, whenever you've had a situation, you've tried to research this for your trucking company,
Yeah.
it's really hard. And everyone likes to give you advice and they pretend they know the laws, but they don't know the laws, including general lawyers who don't specialize.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. And I loved litigating against lawyers who had no experience in the transportation industry because I could eat them alive. And not only that, when I moved in-house, that was a huge learning experience for me, because you went from like, this is the law, everyone listens to me because my clients hire me and I decide and da-da-da-da, to, wow, I'm in the middle of a shit show. And like the very first place I went to work, it was not, I don't think it's actually on my LinkedIn profile. It was like house was on fire from all different perspectives, but it was like my real learning of what it's like to be in-house counsel at a logistics company. You have so many problems thrown at you, and you have to think from a business perspective, not as much about the law.
So by in-house, you mean you went to work for like a trucking company or?
Yeah. So they hire me, or brokerage, and they hire me, and then I come and work full time for them.
And then basically they're like, hey, we have all these, whatever people that are suing me, and you have to deal with it, right? Kind of figure it out.
And it's so fun.
Or Cassandra was doing the suing. She was suing people like you.
That too. That too. I was suing and defending at the same different situations. But it's just the fun things would come at you but you have to I had to learn to teach people all day long so that they could handle a lot of the situations themselves, and teach them what to do when you recognize that that you've got a very important shipment that's been in an accident, what to do. If you got a very angry truck driver or towing company and they want more money and they're holding the load hostage, or if you have a situation, here's my favorite, Bob, that's going to go toward your world, which is cargo claims. I'm excellent at cargo claims and I love them. And so when shippers like to, just deny the shipment, or company likes to just deny the shipment for some random reason they make up, that the goods were damaged or food, temperature problems. And so those are the things that I thrived on. So I went along. So like my first really big job was at Echo for 2 years. And that was so fun. And then so I managed their cargo claims group. I managed their every contract came in, lawsuits, problems. And then I had an onboarding team that handled looking at carriers and all day long. And I was really in the weeds on that to understand, hey, when we have shippers who are getting things stolen. Do you guys remember? I don't know if you remember this, but like back in the day, there was this huge copper theft situation going on, and everybody who was moving copper, because the market was weird, so the value of copper was really high. So everyone was everybody.
What year was that, Cassandra?
It was 2014 or 15.
Okay, I got in the industry in 2015.
Okay, so that you got right in when there's like lots of thefts going on.
Yeah,
and I learned how to identify what carriers really they were subjective to that. They were what's the word I'm looking for? They were fit the profile of somebody who might steal.
Okay.
And so that's where like a lot of those experiences. And then after Echo, I went to Schneider, and oh my God, you guys, that was the best job ever. So I was in their captive insurance and I ran all the lawsuits, and Schneider's an excellent company. Excellent. And, when you got 15,000 trucks, you're going to have accidents, you're going to have safety problems. There's no doubt. And
Yeah.
anything that went wrong came into our group. And it was every day there was something new and fun going on. It was the best job ever. And then that after that is when I started my own law firm. And that was an amazing learning experience for me. And so to be
Probably a lot harder,
your own business owner. Yeah, a lot harder, but a lot better too, Bob. Like, you know this because you have your own business, right? It is completely different mindset when you have your own business, and you have a huge learning curve. But it's so rewarding because it's you, and you decide what you're going to do for your future. But it's also painful because you are the problem when you're not succeeding. You have to literally look at yourself in the mirror and find out, like, why am I not succeeding? And there's no one else to blame. And so it was fun, and I had great clients, and I got a great amount of revenue from it. And then usually, very Cassandra style, I get good at something, and then I'm like, all right, deuces, like, I want to try something new. And that's when I was like, all right, everyone in the industry uses everyone, shippers and brokers use RMIS, and then for onboarding carriers or my carrier packets, and then they use Carrier 411. And those two, like, RMIS is always, at least in my experience with the companies, they're great. But the use of Carrier 411 drove me absolutely bananas when I worked in-house and I led these teams, because it's every person digging through data and then making up kind of like a story, deciding what the data is. And then you've got all these reports. Some of them are garbage. Carrier 411 treats carriers like shit, and you can't scale. And then at the end of the day, as you know, right now, everyone is dealing with double brokering and theft. Clearly, it doesn't work. So I was like, all right, let's actually step out and give somebody a score, like a credit score. Why hasn't anyone in the industry given a carrier a credit score? And by the way, Bob, if you don't think I'm very busy working on a broker score, I think you should start thinking that now, because I am. And then one day there will be a shipper score too. And I'm working hard on that broker score. So maybe one day we talk about what you think about brokers when you work with them, so I can get some insight.
Yeah, TQL is 0.
Yeah,
so.
Oh my God, TQL, you guys. Powerful, right, Bob? Powerful.
-10. But everybody hits me up all the time. We need to do something, about, doing like a score for brokerage.
They're right.
Need to do this.
And carriers should be able to report brokers. There's so much bullshit going on. So, like, when reports come through on our platform, so wait, let me back up. So when I created Carrier Sure, the goal was, I don't want people to have to do work and guess, because all of this stuff you look at for carriers is very, very hard. And anybody out there who's listening, who is in a broker position or a shipper position, when you're onboarding a carrier and you've never run a trucking company, you don't know anything about trucking, which most of them don't, you really don't understand what you're looking at. And then when you do understand what you're looking at, you don't understand the bigger picture of what you're looking at. So the goal was, when I created Carrier Sure, was to compare carriers to each other, understand what the carrier pool looks like. OTR, by the way, this is all OTR. And be able to score the carriers, predicting how they're going to do. And it works, you guys. It downright works. So, like, if, like, our customers, they don't have double brokering problems. Like, every single customer that comes in and starts using Carrier Sure, the double brokering and the theft stop immediately. The drop loads completely change, like, you significant reduction in your cargo claims, significantly reduction. So it works, and, like, they don't have to deal with this problem. So, but I will tell you right now, it has been so hard to be the first person to score a carrier, and soon to score a broker, and become the lightning rod for it, by the way, because you're the first person who's actually stepped out and been like, I'm going to give a score that's not biased. I have no association with anybody, or load board, factoring, nothing. And no side of the industry either. And so
why are we scored so low?
What's your MC number?
I'll tell you later. We'll look at
it. Okay, we'll go over it.
Well, I could beep it out, Bob. If you say it now, I'll beep out the MC number. So just say it now.
No, we looked into it. I think we went to, when we were at Chattanooga, the only way I actually found out about Carrier Assure was actually when I was at Covenant, and I was like trying to book a load with them, and they looked up through Carrier Assure, they looked up our MC, and then I'm like, I think we were F-rated at that point, and I'm like, what's going on here? But we have
we should definitely look at it. I will tell you, I have a lot of carriers that will, like, 50 a day that come in asking for, why do I have an F? Why do I have a D? So many of them are mad that they have like a C, or a B. I had one guy that was pissed he had a B plus, and I'm like, oh,
That's
like we got a B plus. Like, come on, man, you're doing a good job. It's not hard. It's like fucking hard to run a trucking company. Every force in the world is against you.
Yeah.
Every force in the world.
Exactly.
But Bob, there are so many fucking bottom feeders.
I know.
So, and you know who they are. You know who they are. And they're the ones I'm wanting to get rid of. I want to get rid of those assholes that are still getting high and driving. I want to get rid of those assholes that are fucking driving 90 on the highway with their tires that are completely worn down. They're causing huge accidents. I saw that Paul post something about that I-95 collapse. Like huge accidents. You guys, those accidents happen all the fucking time. I want to get rid of those bottom feeders, and then I'm going to get rid of the bottom feeder brokers.
So do you think those accidents are happening because of what, the drivers, or not maintaining the trucks, or is it just some stuff that happens and it happens, you know? Because there's what, 3 million drivers. Of course there's going to be accidents, right? Yes. And every time there's a semi truck that crashes, you know, it goes on the news, like that I-95 bridge, right? So I don't know exactly what caused that accident, but he was carrying some hazmat that got on fire,
and he flipped the truck.
Oh, he flipped the truck. So then, but then you have like a front steering tire.
A car could have pulled in front of him.
So
a car could have completely tried to cut him off.
I have a guy that's based out of upstate New York. I'm pretty sure they're suing Michelin, and they're suing like Bridgestone because all their steer tires have been blowing out. You know, so there's a million things that can kind of go wrong. Right. And I feel like, I'm not saying that a lot of brokers, but a lot of people just look over it. It's like, oh, you know, you had an accident there. It's impossible not to have. Like we've had. Yeah, because you have drivers, not that I'm saying that, you know, everyone's professional, but some drivers are, sometimes there's a mistake that's made or somebody cuts you off, and then you have like a huge accident that happens, you know?
And I hope everybody's listening to what Bob's saying. Like, first of all, one thing he pointed out was brokers and shippers looking at the number of accidents. I fucking hate that. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're sitting there, broker, shipper. Sorry, but you don't know. Oh, you've had too many accidents. Well, you don't know anything about those accidents or where they happened. Do you know how many truck drivers, like when I was working at Schneider, it was mind-blowing to me, the number of accidents that happened that we could not prevent. We could not prevent. We still got sued, of course. We could not prevent them. So, Paul, did you know most of the time at night, like 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, is very dangerous for a truck driver to drive because people are either drunk on the road, for some reason they cross and hit drivers head on all the fucking time. Oh, wow. The other terrifying thing is they commit suicide by hitting a truck head on. Yeah. So when we incorporated, and I always encourage trucking companies to have those forward-facing cameras. I like inward-facing too, but we can talk about that later. But outward-facing cameras is so dynamite because he's right. There are so many accidents that could be unpreventable by that truck driver. So when you're a broker or shipper and you're sitting there looking at, ooh, you've got 4 accidents and you do not know what you're pontificating on. And if you get put on a stand, you're going to have a big problem defending whatever you're doing because I'm sure you're not monitoring it in the future and you won't know if a carrier's profile changes. The other thing is that people sit there and they go, oh, you've had a drug and alcohol violation. We're not working with you. And I'm like, you got to look at how many trucks they run, how many miles they run. You got to look at a lot of things because, I mean, if you've got a big enough fleet or you've got certain situations, you could have a drug and alcohol violation. It could happen. Yeah.
Drivers lose their mind all the time. And like me, right? I drove myself for 7 years. I still drive sometimes. I hop in, do pickups. But I remember one time when I drove for like 3 weeks nonstop, I swear I was losing my mind. I was like, this is insane, you know, to be from home you get into the rhythm eventually and you kind of like are cool with it. But, you know, sometimes I feel like some drivers just lose it and then they have alcohol before or whatever. And then, stuff like that happens, which is really bad. You know, I'm not saying, but that happens. You have 3 million something drivers on the road.
So I have to say though, because I live in Poland full time and I mean, I'm in the States often. I grew up in the States. I realized, I think, first of all, there's a law in the EU where trucks aren't allowed to go over 90 kilometers an hour, which is, I think, 65.
Why is that not a law in our country?
I mean, there's so many, there's so many semi-trucks, and they're going like 80, 90 miles an hour in America. It's beyond ridiculous. Terrifying. And the amount of accidents I see on the highway, there's so many accidents on the highway in America. Like here, when I'm in Poland, I rarely see any accidents with semi trucks because they're going slowly. And I get America's larger, and you know the goods have to move quicker and stuff. But I do see a problem with also just like the safety
I
from
agree.
like the driver should be driving slower, but you know they're trying to make as much money as possible. Strong solo Sergey, you know, trying to do 1,000
You hit it
miles
right there.
in one
Broker
day.
and shippers on them. Why aren't you getting there?
You know,
They're late because of something.
All
They're like
these
feeling lots of
ELDs, I know they're
pressure.
trying to,
you know,
yeah, all these ELDs, they're trying to make it safe, but it's actually sometimes making it worse because then a driver's trying to push it to his limit and then still freaking rolling in, hauling ass into a truck stop, you know, trying to find a parking spot and park it in time just so his clock hits it on the dot, you know?
I thought about that for a while, Bob, and I think that the counter argument to that is you've got so many bottom feeder drivers just driving straight through the night on coke or whatever. We need some type of limits because you've got
Yeah,
people who will ruin it for you. But
of
you are
course.
right, like
Yeah.
but I think that I would prefer not to have people, you know, driving through the night and being all crazy. And if it means you've got to spend more time pre-trip planning, which I know drivers hate hearing, but and yeah, but you're right. You've got that. That's like the
Well, if
downfall
we
of
don't want
it.
drivers driving through the night, then we got to make more truck stops, more truck parking. There's a huge shortage. You know, right now you can't even park your truck. I mean, go look at
Yeah.
truck stops at night. They're going to be packed. Everything by exits, ramps, or everything is full, right? Everything is literally packed. Drivers have nowhere to park at all. And then it becomes actually more dangerous because now you're parking on
You're
a
right.
now you're getting tickets. Like we had
And by the way, cars hit parked trucks all the fucking time. And
exactly.
car drivers die when they hit the corner of a trailer, they die. So many companies say you're not even ever allowed to park on the side of the road, which makes it even harder. But you're right, you have to, as a driver, you've got to not be pushed by brokers and shippers if you can. This market's a little difficult. And you have to pre-trip plan of how you can go and where you can stay. Like, I hate it when drivers, I'll know immediately when I'm working with drivers that just jump on the truck and they're like ballparking shit. So I'm like, your day's gonna be brutal if you're ballparking. You have to plan where you're going, if you're gonna hit traffic. You have to plan where you're gonna park, where you're gonna eat, and you have to also plan all your ELDs into that. That is really hard. That's a lot of planning, but it's worth it because then you won't get yourself in trouble. But a lot of people avoid that. I'm not saying you do that, but I'm saying there are a lot of companies out there
No,
that avoid it.
of course, yeah. And you're right.
And
Right now, the market. What's bad about this market is everything is like the brokers kind of almost expect it's like a machine, right? Where the drivers like as soon as they book a load, they think it should be there tomorrow, no matter what. And if it's not, guess what? You're getting charged $150. You're getting charged $350 for being late, and it's
bullshit.
like, bro,
It's
there's
bullshit.
so much things that can go wrong. You know, like literally traffic or ELD runs out or something like it that's where it's kind of like we were talking about this with somebody else on a podcast, you know, where everything is getting so like AI automated and all this stuff, where I feel like brokers and people forget that, hey, there's actually a driver in the truck and a
There's a
million
human
things
element
go
to
wrong,
this.
you know?
yeah.
So
And it's a stressful job. And don't forget, everyone forgets, but for truck drivers, is they also have to deal with the other human elements, which is all the other cars who cause accidents too.
And we were talking about Chad actually from the insurance about right now, right? So
I love
all
Chad.
these lawyers and all these cars, they're trying to, if there is an accident, you know, they go and try to sue these trucking companies because they think they can get like millions of dollars, you know? So they're kind of, not that I'm saying they do on
they
purpose,
are
but
getting
a
millions
lot
of
of them,
dollars.
yeah, a lot of them.
But I will tell you, one thing that people say is they're like, okay, then we should have caps on liability. And the downfall of that is most of the reason that you have truck drivers and pressure on trucking companies to be safer is the fear of that lawsuit. And shippers and brokers backing off of truckers is because of that fear of lawsuit. If we remove that fear of that lawsuit, you guys are going to have so much pressure from brokers and shippers, and they're not going to give a shit about anything. That's very dramatic. They will give a shit, but you know what I mean. And not only that, you're going to have bottom feeders who are going even worse. And insurance, because now it's even a lower barrier to enter into the industry, right? It's $100 for your application, and then insurance rates go down because we lower. Do we really want more truckers in the industry? Do you want more truckers in this industry right now?
No.
Probably not. Yeah.
And the new ones don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Exactly.
And you've got to like, even if they're like, oh, I was a lease on for Schneider for 10 years, you don't know how to run your business. No, and then, oh, definitely. I was a local driver in Georgia for 10 years. You don't know how to run long haul.
Yeah. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's definitely true. And then they get in and then they kind of ruin. That's what happened last year or 2 years ago when the markets were super high. I feel like everybody got in at the,
Yeah,
because
they
they're
were.
making.
Like, remember, it's like a fad to become it was like the first time ever to be fad to be in the trucking
Well, you have
industry. But
all
they were all
these
like, we're going
people,
into trucking.
yeah, you have all these people promoting it on social media, like get in, you'll be making 10 grand a week
Look
or
at my
whatever.
chrome tires.
There's all those courses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like
But
people get in, they
uh,
get so deep into it now they're like they can't get out, and it's a
Cassandra,
lot of people are scared to fail too, so they just keep
uh,
going at it.
did you hear,
Right.
Cassandra, that Schneider is advertising in American Truck Simulator, like to become a CDL driver? Did you see that? It just came out like
Whoa, I
yesterday.
did not see that.
Like you could go on freecaviar.com. It's the latest story. But Schneider essentially is advertising inside of American Truck Simulator, the video game, to become a truck driver. So it's pretty funny. Yeah. So
Wait a second. That's great marketing, though.
it is
Like,
great
I
marketing.
guess
Because you
Yeah.
start
if
off,
you like
if
want to be a
people are
truck driver, like,
No,
yeah,
no,
but do we
absolutely.
really
it's
need more truck drivers?
Oh,
but it's
Like,
I
there's
think
no shortage of
Schneider.
truck drivers right now. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think Schneider needs some more company drivers to run for 35 cents a mile. It's probably what they need, but I don't know.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like new drivers to
That's
come in.
interesting.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
That's interesting.
yeah.
No, it's kind of I get the marketing, because if somebody's playing games, right, they're driving a truck, obviously they
Smart.
might want to drive
That's smart
they
marketing.
want, yeah, they want to drive a real truck, but then it's again like if your mindset is like, hey, this is a game, I don't know, that's kind of maybe not the greatest idea.
But at least
so.
you have the interest in trucking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, for sure, yeah.
So it's
Definitely.
actually fucking brilliant to target people from there. But I would like, it's just, I mean, I don't know all the circumstances. What did you think when you saw it, Paul?
I thought it was great marketing. I mean, I think it's perfect. Just at scale, like a lot of people that play American Truck Simulator would be like, oh, this, why not get behind the wheel and actually do it?
Yeah.
I actually thought of being a truck driver before. Just like I would want to be a truck driver probably for like 3 months and like visit all 48 continental U.S. states, and then like just be gone. It's just to try it, just to see how it is.
Yes. Me too.
And my business partner actually has a CDL. He's a software engineer for ShippersCRM.com, and he was working on Autobahn.ai before he started. Before we partnered up, he was working on Autobahn.ai, which was creating like sensors for trucks, like safety sensors, and he got a CDL so that he didn't have to hire like a truck driver, and he got an MC, and he was testing his sensors on the CDL, and he was able to pass the CDL for being a semi truck driver without taking any courses of American Truck Simulator. He literally just played the game and he studied the booklet, whatever they had.
I love hearing stories like that. I love, like, I just met this guy the other day who like taught himself how to code. He didn't go to college, didn't do anything, which, by the way, college is kind of like a overrated thing right now.
Yeah.
And he just taught himself how to write code. And I was like, that is fucking brilliant. I love it. I love hearing people do that.
No,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
But anything you guys want to hear about truck driving, I'm here for you.
I actually would like to talk to you, Bob, a little bit, and I can show you the scoring and how we do everything and how it works. It's very like we compare similar size carriers to each other. We try to anticipate who's susceptible to double brokering, fraud, and theft. Just because we tell people for OTR shipments, avoid the D and the F carriers because those carriers are the most susceptible to double brokering. Of course, it doesn't mean all of them are going to double broker. So we tell people
carriers? Sorry.
The D and the F carriers.
The score.
Carriers that are scored as a D or an F range. So we tell people avoid those carriers for the OTR. They're most susceptible to problems. And it's not just because they're going to double broker or theft. Another thing that falls into that category is they have inexperience with OTR. So if you're a carrier and you're just driving around Georgia for the past 5 years, you're not going to have a great score on my platform because my platform is designed to be for OTR. Those are our biggest risky shipments. And if a carrier is a D and F, then we tell people, if you want to try them out, try them out. It's just like a credit score, right? Like an 18-year-old who has a shitty credit score in the beginning. So if you're a new trucker or you're a local trucker and you've never done OTR, you're not going to have the best score for a while. And so they, like, when you run OTR, it is so different than when you run local. And you can really fuck some stuff up. So And like, how about this? Drayage carriers don't do as well for many reasons beyond just some of them run local, but now a lot of them are trying to get into the OTR world to get like more money, more revenue, and they're not used to OTR. So just as a background, so that's what it. But when people truly are careful with that DNF carrier, and they're thoroughly vetting the DNF carrier, maybe if they decide to give the DNF carrier a shipment, you give them something local, give them something cheap, try them out. This is not a guarantee. It's not an end all. It's a credit score. It's a gauge.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people who do not know what they're looking at with this data. I would say 99% of the people in our industry are looking at Carrier 411 and don't know what they're doing. And it doesn't work.
Like with Bob's score, because Bob, you've had an MC for what, 3 years now?
I think we're on our third year. Yeah.
Third year? So like,
years.
What kind of reasons would there be like
Good
to
question.
get like a DNF right now being 3 years in?
So see, I think
so.
Go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say, Bob?
So like we have a safety person that comes in and kind of helped us out with everything. So I know in the beginning, right, the government or whatever, I guess the state police, they kind of give you like, here's a year, here's 2 years, go do what you got to do, practice, put the safety, implement all the safety in, make sure you get it. After 2 years, they kind of start going after you, you know? So we've been getting a lot of, like we've had a lot of inspections in the last, I would say, half a year. Like I think we've had the most inspections. And you know how DOT is. We have literally brand new equipment. Like most of our trucks are literally 2022 and up. We have one truck that's 2019 now. And same thing with trailers. But any little thing, you have a little air leak, you're getting a violation. Any little thing you're getting, like the driver, something, you're getting a violation. So it's just, and I feel like once the way she kind of explained, like we've been getting pulled into New Mexico a lot, and they kind of have your thing and they keep trying to pull you in.
New Mexico's been a hotbed for inspections.
Yeah, exactly. And then they keep trying to pull you in, and every time they always find something, because they're like, oh, this company, last time we got them for violations, now let's try to get them for more and more and more, and even like we had two drivers in that state that got caught for speeding, and it was like 5 miles over, and they literally gave them a warning. So yeah.
Oof, that's painful. Yeah, that'll fucking hurt you. That'll hurt things. But okay, here's what I wanted to tell you is, well, first of all, the carriers are all compared to each other in a way. We do a bell curve, we do percentiles, we analyze what the carrier group looks like. So if you are getting, like, we look at how many inspections should you have compared to carriers? Like, how many do all these carriers have per truck, per month of authority? And then how many do you have? So we do look at inspections to gauge, are you truly running long haul? Are you avoiding inspections, or are you double brokering and pretending to be a trucking company and you're not really a trucking company? And so we look at a lot of that type of data. But I wanted you to know, we don't unilaterally say, like, we look at, all right, how often are these carriers getting inspected? How often should this carrier get inspected for how long it's had authority? The other thing we look at are the violations, very closely the violations, right? So we look at the severity of the violation, the timing of the violation, which FMCSA does as well. It's called a measure, right? And so then we compare carriers to each other, though. And we say, all right, in your classroom of all your carriers, how are you doing with violations compared to all the rest of your carriers? And then, we bell curve it. So it's easy. It's not easy, but it's what I'm explaining to you, you could probably figure out. But so when you're saying everybody's getting dinged for little things, that means everyone's getting dinged for little things. It's like when we went in college and we had that professor that would never let anybody have a fucking A, and they were just dinging us for stupid shit. Everyone's getting dinged. So I hear what you're saying. I try my hardest to combat it by taking a statistical approach. And that's why I don't like brokers and shippers just looking at data and just making decisions about carriers when you don't know what the whole carrier pool is, or the whole what the situation is. Yeah. Indiana's the same. They're pretty tough on trucking companies, Indiana. Illinois. So when I see a trucking company is based in Illinois and they don't have any inspections, and you've been around for 2 or 3 years, no. Pennsylvania, Indiana, California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico lately love inspections. Virginia, I think, loves inspections, and there might be one more. So
if this podcast does well,
I love inspections.
Bob, Cassandra will boost your score up, so you'll be fine.
I bet if we look at his score, I bet it's not enough. And
I thought it was a D.
And
wasn't
I bet when we look at it, Or
No,
D?
I think it's enough. We'll look at it. It's not about no, it's
Yeah.
not about Cassandra or anybody. She's right. We do have to focus more. Because you can just remind drivers every single day, like, hey, drive more safe. Hey, do this. Check your tires. Hey, do your PTIs. I mean, it's a lot of
It's
work.
a
But
lot
there,
of
yeah,
management.
there is ways to improve it for sure. But then you will still have drivers that just go out there and still get
I know.
tickets. And you're
But
like,
don't
and you
worry,
charge them
everyone
even.
else has drivers out there going getting
Yeah,
tickets too.
I know.
Like you're
And we
not alone.
implement we implement high charges, for their violations, for their tickets, and we give them if you have a good inspection, we give them bonuses for
Yeah.
that. We have those.
Smart.
Yeah, we implemented all that, but then still, like, we had one driver, we actually let him go, and literally it was a ticket after ticket after ticket, and he would not learn, and that's why
That's
I think we're
frustrating.
starting to realize that it's sometimes better, like, as soon as you see that the driver's doing this like once or twice, it's better to just let them go and just move on. Yeah. So
I know.
it's a
It is the
learning
better
curve, I
idea.
think. So, but yeah, for sure.
But what I hope everybody's understanding and hearing from him saying from his perspective is the fleet management part, which it is so much work to be on. You have to know what everybody's doing, and that's obviously what a lot of the data you can get as well. But you have to like manage. And I guess that's our jobs, right? We all own and run
Yeah.
companies. And as a leader, your job is to remind people what the direction is every single day, all day.
Exactly.
That is your job.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a tough
And
job.
like, and I've noticed too, like, from a trucking perspective, it's better for me. Like, I have a local shop that I use here, and it's better to do the mains at home. It's better
You're
to
right.
just pull in the truck, do it before anything happens.
You're
Because
right.
on the road, it will cost you 10 times higher. The violations will cost you way more. So,
Yep.
like, right now, like, we're spending thousands of dollars just in mains. And I feel like brokers sometimes, they're like, oh, the fuel is this,
Don't know that.
the driver pay is this, and this is what the rate should be. Bro, do you know what it costs to maintain a truck? Do you know what it costs to change a tire? It just there's a lot that
Yeah,
goes
but they
into
don't, Bob, they don't give a shit. Like they're
it. Yeah,
kids. They're 25 years old, whatever, 22 years old. They don't give a shit. And nor is
yeah,
it their job to know that, right? The trucking industry,
yeah,
and you are a great leader in our industry and
yeah,
should continue to preach exactly what you're preaching, which is it's not their job to know. It's as a trucking company, you got to know what your margins are and say no to shitty rates.
yeah.
And let the bottom feeders run themselves out. Yeah, they might be taking those shitty rates, but don't worry, they'll be out of business
See,
soon.
there's so many of them that they'll just keep coming.
I know,
They'll
you just
keep
gotta
coming.
give it time. I promise you that when I see the numbers, they are dropping like flies. That's why there's so much double brokering and theft going on, is because they get desperate. So, and this is why it's hard to predict, and not for us, but it's hard to predict for everybody else. Is because a truck driver will do great for like a year for you, and then suddenly they'll double broker, or suddenly they'll hold a load hostage or do something crazy, and you're like, why? Because they're about to go out of business, people, because they haven't been running their business like Bob has said, and they're getting desperate, and you have to be able to anticipate that. So that's what we do. We try to anticipate who's about to go out of business, and then they get desperate, and you should avoid them. And that's like the clutch thing to predict. But
Right
you're
now, I
right.
feel
We're
like
going to be
everyone's
patient, Bob.
going out
I
of
promise
business.
you.
Even
I
Yellow
promise you
is
they're
going
going
out
out
of
of business.
business.
I know.
Uh,
So I saw that too, and I was like, oh no, poor Yellow. I love them. But you
So,
never know. They might figure it out. But I
yeah,
promise you, Bob, they are dropping like flies. You just need to hold strong. Give it
yeah,
another 6 months, and you'll surface dynamite. I promise.
hopefully.
uh,
I still got 6 months in me.
And I tell brokers the same thing. I tell them the same thing. Wait for the bottom feeder brokers to die out, because they're going to go out of business soon.
Yeah,
They're going to fuck everything up because they don't know what they're doing, and they're not treating carriers right. And they're using those shitty, they're using the shitty carriers that are, I shouldn't say shitty. No, I can say shitty. If you're a Glendale broker, double brokering scammer, you're shitty.
yeah.
And they'll go out of business soon too. So I tell brokers the same thing. We all need to be patient and let people who have joined our industry, who should not be in our industry, we should let them fade out,
so,
and then we'll get the business.
Cassandra, I'm wondering, because I know you're building out a broker assure essentially, but
Yes.
right now, let's say Bob would want to look up like a broker's MC to see if they're potentially double brokers or scammers. Is that possible right now?
Not right now. I'm working on it.
Okay.
So that's in development. I think it's going to take me another 3 months.
Okay.
Because I have to be very careful with it, as we have to be careful with anything like that. And then also, I want the carriers will have a way to report brokers. And obviously, there's going to be a heavy approval process with that. There is a heavy approval process on the other end when brokers submit reports against carriers. And the other thing is I wanted to add one more thing. Oh, I wanted to add another, like we're building out another page for carriers only so they can understand their score. So carriers are often, when they're like, Cassandra, why do I have an FOD? I can pinpoint within seconds exactly what is going on in their operations that they need to fix immediately.
Okay,
And
so
I need to be able to do that.
Let's look up mine and pinpoint exactly what's going on.
Okay. Here's the heat. Okay. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. You have a C plus.
Oh, wow. Look at you, Bob.
So this is a great carrier. Am I allowed to share my screen? Oh, no.
You could share your screen. I could just blur it out.
So you've got 15 trucks that you've reported to the FMCSA.
Yep.
14 of them have been inspected. So that's great. You've got one truck running around that hasn't been inspected yet. You are perfect with inspections. You're at 30 inspections. That is right where you should be it's right around where you should be compared to other carriers. We've got great contact information. That's good. So down here, let's take a peek at where you're losing points. So you have 2 years and 5 months of authority. That's great. You have multiple points of contact. Most carriers who have 15 trucks only give us like one, and you have given multiple. So that's good. Let's click on this and see what other data there is. You have reported more insurance than required than the 750. And we've noticed that those carriers that have 15 trucks often report only 750. So you are getting.
So wait, reported insurance about what? Sorry.
Your liability insurance, you have to report to the FMCSA. You report more than what is required. You're only required to report 750. You probably report 1 million.
Yeah.
And just for.
Yeah, so we got 1 million, and we just actually upgraded our cargo to 250,000. So.
Good, because those carriers are hard to find. And then, of course, Bob, your contract with brokers are going to cap your liability at 100,000, right?
Yeah.
Make sure. Just email me the contract. Just make sure, please. Just type in maximum liability for cargo, $100,000, as much as you can. They may say no right now because of the market, but some of them, they may say no because of the market. But some of them, if you can, try to cap your liability. All right, so that was a rabbit moment. So suspicious activity. Suspicious activity is where we analyze your contact information. So what is logistics?
So see, that's another thing we've been getting with brokers, right? Sometimes we try to book a load and they're like, hey, you can't because you have a brokerage or something like this. In the office that we bought, there used to be a company here that was a broker. So the place that we're at, I'm not sure if this is exactly what it's sharing, the matchmakers, but I'm guessing that's what it is. But there used to be a brokerage in this office.
Okay, so what I would do if I were you is I would report your mailing address as also your FMCSA reporting address to remove any of these matches. What is?
Yeah, that's a brokerage that we have that I've had with a different one.
Okay, that works against you a little bit too.
Yeah. But the other one to report it, so you're saying to take the office off of my house. The thing is, when I do that, this office place where we're at, like the mail gets stolen all the time. So I have everything, forwarded to my house directly instead of actually sent to the office. Because we had like checks go missing. We had stuff where we haven't gotten our mail. So we're like, okay, let's just ship everything to the house. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question for you. Who is?
They leased on with us for one of their trucks. So that one of their trucks was leased on to us. Why does it show up?
You're not related to them?
No. I wonder why it shows up there though. That's interesting.
Because they're running loads for you and so usually if we see a lot of we see a lot of patterns with the inspections.
That's
so
my
they're
friend's
running.
Yeah, that's my friend's company. They do expedited, but they had one truck. So he had one truck that he leased, and he doesn't do dry vans. So we were loading his truck for him, but they leased on to us. We signed a lease contract with they were running under our sign. So I'm surprised that pops up on there.
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. And you're not like getting hit with great points or something like that. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just that sometimes when I see on here multiple times, Now I know you guys are related somehow. You're friends, cousins, you guys are somehow got some kind of relation because it's on here so often with different trucks. So what
Even
I
for
do
brother.
is you see right here, it says A plus. Well, they're an A plus carrier. So I don't worry about that as much. If I saw they were an F carrier or they were conditional or they were unrated, not unrated, they're conditional or they were unscored by us, that would be worrisome.
That's
Because
crazy.
you are
Even
who you
Brother
hang
Spray
out with.
Management is on there too. I used to work for that company.
Yep. Logistics has a D plus. Try to avoid their driver a little bit if you can, because you don't
All
want them
right.
dragging down your score. Yeah. So, but it's not going to hit your score hard.
So
It's just a data point that people look at.
Yeah.
Cassandra, could
Yeah.
carriers look at their information like for free?
Yeah.
Like this?
Not for free. They could use the promo code that's on our
Okay.
website and they could totally log in and see all of this as much as they want for 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah. Someday, like that's what I'm building out right now is a resource just for carriers.
I
Let's go
like
to your
it. It's pretty,
DOT. Let's talk
it's
about the
pretty
most
simple.
important thing.
I've
I
never
like it
logged
too.
into that.
It's nice.
So how much
It's
does
my
it cost
favorite
for a
thing for
carrier?
carriers.
How much does it cost for me to have access to this all the time?
Oh, all the time? It's $150 a month.
150 a month. What about for me that I have 161,000 followers on Instagram?
You definitely get a discount. You definitely get a discount.
I think you should get paid, Bob. I think you should get paid.
I think Bob should get paid too, especially when I roll out the carrier side of things. When I want carriers to be able to log in, see their own score,
Yeah.
and see, because carriers don't know you guys. So here, let's talk about this. So your truck, you're doing a good job with maintenance. You're doing a good job with time management. These are vague statements based on your violations and your inspections and things like that. So when you see watchouts, that means you've lost some points due to your driver performance, which I'll tell you what that means in just a minute. And then you've lost some points with driver practices as well. So let's zoom down here. No one really knows about this section because it's a little confusing, but first we got to look at your out of service rate. So right here is your peer group. And this is like carriers with similar truck count. I think it's up to, I think it's 10 to, I can't remember, it's like 70 trucks or something like that. Your group is 21% out of rate for vehicles, right? Your driver is 5%, which is high actually. So this is this is your classroom. And this is how they do on out of service. Paul, just in case you wanted to know, 20% of trucks inspected are told they cannot drive anymore. 5% of drivers inspected are told they cannot drive anymore in the country. I'll just like tell you that. That's a terrifying fact. So, okay, but despite Bob being hard on himself, he's actually doing much better than his group with vehicle.
So the vehicles are good. Yeah, the drivers is not.
Your driver management, you've already said that. Your driver management is struggling.
Yeah.
So let's dig in a little bit deeper. You guys can tell us, he's like, I could do this all fucking day. Oh, I do it all day. All right, let's look at your categories of violations, right? So you've got unsafe driving. All right, when you see the percentiles, this is a classroom percentile. So 50% means you're at the average of the class. Below 50% means you're not. You're below average. You're at the bottom 11% of the class for unsafe driving. So this is where you're losing a you probably be I'd say you'd be an A minus or an A if it wasn't for that category. And guess what? This is the hardest category. This is where like it's so fucking difficult. So let's go take one more peek at one more thing. What is up with the FMCSA's website? Let's see if I already pulled it up. I might have already pulled it up. Nope. Moo. There it is. Okay. Let's go to complete SMS profile. This is the FMCSA's website, just for people who are watching. You're yourself.
We have the access
to
this.
All right, here we go. So let's look at how May was for you, right? We've got an inspection in May, no severity, unsafe driving violation, failure to use hazard warning flashers.
So that's where
severity there.
So do you know what that was? A driver parked at an exit because he couldn't find parking spots at a truck stop. He didn't have his hazards on when he went to sleep. He woke up, a cop knocked on his door, gave him an inspection, gave him violations for that. And there was
it's okay. It's only a 1 severity.
Yeah, but he said there was like stuff like that, it adds on.
That stuff like that is picking on people. Like you're fucking picking on people.
Yeah.
It drives me up the wall. I mean, I get it, right? Because cars are attracted to trailers. They hit them all the time. Like you shouldn't ever be parked on the side of the road. But there are times where truck drivers have to. But at Schneider, we had a
I
rule.
mean,
You
it's
were
not on the
never,
side of the
ever
road. It's at
allowed.
the exit ramp. They make exit ramps, and they
You're not,
actually
that's the side of the
make.
road.
Yeah, but
That's the side of
you're
the fucking
taking an
road,
exit and you
man.
go last up. Well, what are you gonna do when there's no parking at a truck stop? What is
That's
the
your
driver
pre-trip
supposed?
planning. That's all your pre-trip planning. You've got to plan out
Oh
how
man,
long it's going to
you
take you.
you and
And
Paul need to jump in a truck and start driving across America and see
I
how
know
it
it's
is.
hard. I know it's hard. But I also
Yeah.
know companies that have, I also know and have worked for companies that have worked with drivers, thousands of drivers, to make sure they pre-trip plan. But you are right, it is not easy. But let's take a step back.
Yeah.
You have a good score, so you're already doing a good job.
Yeah.
So we need to it's great. Let's pick on Bob for a minute, but it's fucking hard to do this, and he has a good score. So your severity, so you've got CMV manufactured, you have automatic air brace adjustment field, you got an air brake violation and a rototype. So some maintenance issues.
Yeah.
Here's where killed you was your speedings that you talked about this already. You got some guys speeding. And that part
And
sucks.
he accepted a warning instead of an actual ticket where we can go and fight it. And now with the warning in New Mexico, we can't do nothing with that.
I know. It's brutal. And then you got an out of service, hours of service compliance, out of service, hours of service, and vehicle maintenance. But again, I want to remind people that you're doing a great job. You just need to keep doing what you're doing. Come down hard on fucking speeding violations.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to equipment. So anyhow, but let's talk about, you've only had that speeding was speeding in a construction zone. That's what killed you.
Yeah, that's
And
what killed me.
that was in March.
Yeah. Well, we have another one that's about to pop up because there was another driver, the one that we just let go. He had the same thing in New Mexico.
Oh,
fucking New Mexico, man. So you're at hours of service, you're right at the median, the average of the class. So you're doing the same. And then vehicle maintenance, you're above the class for that. And look at that. Controlled substance and driver fitness, no violations here, people. No.
Yeah.
This is amazing work. This is a great job. Good for you. It is not easy to be a truck driver right now. Can
you look at the history, Cassandra?
Not yet. But it's funny you asked that, because we were just talking about it in my team meeting with my developers, and they designed a graph to show. I was going to make it just for the carriers, but apparently brokers and shippers want it too. But I'm like, you don't know. I don't want you looking at no graphs. But it will show the trend and different things like that too.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah.
And then also we'll offer resources. So some people need like true training on, and Bob, you know this, right? People who aren't used to running trucking companies, and they need some serious training on how to run trucking companies. So we're gonna have consultants, we're gonna have courses. There's a lawyer that you can hire to fight your violations. That'll be on the page for the carriers. There's ways to dispute broker reports, but they can dispute them now. And then what was the other thing? Insurance and factoring companies will be on there for carriers too. So that when I build out the carrier, well, it's designed, but when we actually like build it out, that will be a lot cheaper for carriers. Like they'll have free access to the score, and then they'll pay I think it was like $25 a month, or I can't remember what it was.
For all the resources. Don't forget to leave an extra space. Don't forget to leave an extra space and put our link to these podcasts. That way people can learn the most information is on this podcast.
Actually, that's a good idea. No, that's a great idea. They need to be part of a good community, and they need a community.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's why we're doing this, because I learned a lot myself from doing it. So I'm sure anybody that watches it, they're doing a lot better than anybody else. Because for me, I'm trying to be in this business, I'm not here just to make the money and get out or whatever, but I'm here for the long time. So for me, I want to learn as much as I can and grow with that.
Yeah. And what's interesting is a truck driver messaged me on Instagram today saying that he's learned more from our podcast than he has from going to conferences for 5 years. So
yeah,
I believe that. I don't really think you learn a lot from conferences. I think you make great connections from people and who you talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
But these podcasts are what people need and they listen to.
Yeah,
that's fine. Well, Cassandra, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. I adore you both. I'm so glad to have met you guys and talked to you guys. I'm your biggest fan. I hope you guys know that.
This was definitely great. And another thing I wrote it down. You were mentioning that you're making a site for brokers to report brokers. You know how carriers report brokers right now? in
How?
our DMs. They
Oh
literally,
yeah,
they're literally like,
all day
report
long.
this broker, and I'm like, send me the info, and then I'm like, I read it, and some of it I literally don't even post it on my page, and then the other ones I'm like, okay,
Yes.
this broker is a scammer, so I post it up.
Yes.
So that's how they're reporting it
Yes,
right now.
that's so funny. Hey, that's effective though. That's amazing.
Yeah, no,
Like that's
it is, for
amazing.
sure.
Yeah,
That's very
definitely.
effective. And at least they have a resource.
Yep,
For sure.
that's true.
Cassandra, if
Get rid of the
people wanna
bottom
reach
feeders,
out-
you guys. We need to get rid of the bottom feeders.
yeah,
Bottom feeder
for sure.
brokers, bottom feeder shippers, and bottom feeder carriers. They need to go.
Yep.
Yep, 100%.
Uh,
Cassandra, if people wanted to reach you anywhere, or they would have any questions about Carrier Assured, or just in general, anything, that's where can they reach you at?
You can go to carriersure.com. They can just type in Cassandra Gaines in transportation. You'll find me on LinkedIn mostly. I'm not so good on Instagram, but I'll be following you guys. So I'll be right behind you guys
Awesome.
as your biggest fans. And you can email me too at cassandragaines@carriersure.com.
awesome. Perfect.
Thanks for
Cassandra,
having me, you guys.
thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
I had a great time.
Likewise.
See ya. Bye.
See ya. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Freight Caviar podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.